Divine greetings and gratitude, tribe. Welcome back to our YouTube space. I'm happy to have you here. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Nuna. I'm here to help you transcend beyond pain and suffering, manifest and expand your consciousness by merging the arts of poetry and magic. Thank you so much for coming onto this space. We're going to be doing a quick reading. I was supposed to have this video uploaded a while ago, but here we are, me doing a reading for the Taurus New Moon. I'm going to just be pulling some cards for us today while looking over at the chart to see what I'm going to pull or to see what comes through. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because I did not have time to do a keynote. I've been really swamped, bombarded with a lot of things. However, I have also been focusing a lot more of my energy, time, attention, and devotion to the Saiyonan circle and doing things like that because I'm building a community of people that I eventually want to get in person so that we can focus on community outreach and things of that nature, community building and community gatherings and things of that nature. So that's what I've been working on. And I'm also studying to become an ordained minister. So hopefully that goes through and we'll see what happens with that. So anyway, thank you so much for coming on to this space. I'm excited to have you here. Let's go ahead and dive into some messages. So the new moon is going to be happening Saturday, tomorrow, at about 4:02 p.m. and that's EST. And we do have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful new moon in Taurus. At the time that I did pull the chart, it was exactly at that time. I also did move it over to whole signs to make sure that it is organized. That's the way that I like to pull the chart. That's the way that I like to look at it. Immediately what draws my attention is the fact that Mercury, the sun, and the moon are all going to be conjunct in the sign of Taurus in the 8th house. So there's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot of mental activity, ideas, and things that we do want to get grounded into reality. Taurus is a sign that rules the body. It rules self-worth. Taurus also rules the earth itself, agriculture, tangible assets, working, and things of that nature. I also feel that Taurus does rule safety and security, of course. So a lot of our focus is going to be on what things are we wanting to build and to ground into reality. What are things that make us feel valuable and what are things that make us do feel secure? But I do feel like there's a strong emphasis on the mental field here, though. I feel like this is where we start to really dive deeper into the interstellar aspects within ourselves. And I feel that because Uranus is also in the sign of Gemini, who's right next door to Taurus, this makes me feel like there's going to be a lot more things picking up as far as, mental activity and things like that when it comes to what we want to see manifest and what we want to do, how we want to build security, and what creative ways we can, or what creative approach we can take in terms of allowing ourselves to build wealth and things like that. But I don't see this as only just things that are tangible. If anything, I do see a mindset shift. I see that what's going to happen is that some people are going to be in a space where they're really wanting to allow themselves to be transformed from the inside out. I do feel that because there is such a strong Mercurian energy to this, we really are going to be focusing again on our mental field, how we communicate, the information that we receive, and what we share and things like that, and how that benefits us in the long run. Now, at the time of the new moon, the stellium here is going to be happening in the 8th house. So this has a lot more to do with deeper investments, a deeper call and a deeper pull into what is it that I need to transform within myself that can lead to liberation. What mindset shift am I making to help me become a lot more secure? Am I secure within myself? Am I secure within my body? Am I secure within my home? Am I secure within my finances? Are all questions that do come about this Taurus new moon. But I do feel like I don't only want to focus simply on just the money aspect, and nor do I only want to focus on just the tangible things, because I feel like this is you understanding the beauty of life. This is you understanding the beauty in your creativity. And I say that because the original ruler, of course, the ruler of Taurus actually is Venus. Venus is also going to be in the sign of Gemini. Now, Venus being in Gemini brings a very beautiful, I like to say kind of flirtatious way of communicating. But at the same time, this is also you putting a lot more thought into what makes you feel beautiful, but what makes your space feel beautiful, what in life makes you feel beautiful. What is it that you feel like you can not only pull from life, but how can you give more beauty? How can you communicate in a more Venusian, in a more luxurious, in a more balanced way, in a more harmonious way. This to me looks a lot like, especially because it looks like Venus is going to be trining. It looks like Venus and Mars are going to be trining. Let me double check that. Oh no, it's actually a sextile. So Venus and Mars are going to be sextile. Now, usually these energies, depending on how they're aspecting each other, it could be a little bit unfavorable sometimes. And I say that because Mars is very active. Mars wants to get things done immediately. It represents the more primal aspect of our divine masculine, whereas Venus represents the more outwardly facing, beautiful aspect of our divine feminine in some cases. Now, in this case, because these two energies are sextile, it looks like they're actually going to be this is a time where we can actually allow ourselves to merge our divine masculine and our divine feminine in a way that helps us to become a bit more whole, especially because actually Gemini, even though Gemini is not the star of the show here, there's this aspect of coming together, joining divine union when it comes to your divine masculine and when it comes to your divine feminine. So this really could be a call for you to start thinking creatively as to how you can implement both your masculine and feminine traits and qualities in order to shape this new life, in order to write this new life into existence. So I do see that you're probably going to be working a lot with scripting. You're probably going to be working a lot with getting your hands in the earth, planting seeds. It could be literal. It could be you having an actual garden and you giving thought, attention, and detail into the things that you're actually planting. Now, the new moon actually is a time to plant. If you ask me, it's a space where, or a time where we go inward, we go into ourselves, we go into this darker space, we go into the shadows to pull wisdom from these spaces. What is it that I truly do desire? Why do I desire them? And is there anything that's holding me back from expressing these desires? And do I have the dedication and devotion enough to even plant these things and also stick with it in the long run? So what is it that you feel that you want to sustain? What is it that you feel that you want to have security in? And how can you take a creative approach into making sure that you obtain these things, if that makes sense? But also, I feel that because there is going to be a trine in the air signs, this is basically where a time where we're going to really be called to focus and to really allow ourselves to dive deeper into our mental space and really act on these ideas. This is not one of those things where you just keep thinking about it and saying, oh, this would sound nice. Oh, this would be nice. Because sometimes Gemini does have this way of just saying, oh, well, yeah, this is nice. But then that's all that it is. It's not always. Rashad, get down. Okay. Sorry about that, mom duties. So basically, where was I at? No, I got distracted. Okay. Okay, I got distracted, so I don't remember where we were at. But basically, yes, I feel like with this trine here, this is a beautiful time where we can utilize our creativity. We can utilize our ability to think creatively and also speak. This is the time where you want to speak things into existence. If you don't feel called to writing, I do feel like you could be called to use your throat chakra energy here. This is where you start to kind of speak these into existence. This is where you actually use nature, right? You use nature, you use the earth in order to plant seeds and in order to get your messages across. So sometimes this looks like you going up to a tree and letting that tree know what's going on in your life. And then that tree will give back to you wisdom that can help you to sustain, that can help you become rooted and grounded. So this is you going into a forest, going to the beach, or going to somewhere where you can be very grounded, right? Whatever spot in nature grounds you, you go to that space and you talk directly to the earth. You give your tears to the earth. You cry to the earth. You give maybe your hair to the earth, whatever it is you want to offer, right? Whatever it is. This also is giving me the energy of writing a petition and then burying it into the earth and then planting a seed there and seeing the seed grow. Or going to a tree, a spot in nature, and you have a petition and you read the petition to the earth, or you read it to the tree, and then you dig a hole in the earth and then you fold it up real good, and then you put that petition into the earth, and then you cover it back up, and then you water it, and you say, thank you, earth, so much for carrying my petitions into your womb. Thank you so much for growing these petitions for me, and thank you so much for helping me as I progress in life. Thank you so much for helping me on my path of remembrance. And you give that tree an offering. You could take it some apples, you can take it some, I don't know, fertilizer if you want to. I'm in the process of gardening, so of course I would say that. But you can take it some flowers, you can take it some water, right? You can take it, whatever it is that tree can take in, and you give the tree the offering. So this is where you give offerings to the earth, and then the earth returns it back to you. Okay. Now, we also do have here another stellium that's in the sign of Aries at the time of the new moon, and this has a lot to do with us doing our best to become advocates for our own healing, especially in terms of our relationships. How am I showing up in this relationship? What kind of bonds and partnerships do I want to have? Am I going to encounter people that are going to help me or hinder me in terms of being an advocate for healing when it comes to actually going after what I want? I feel like Aries energy, again, does represent this more primal aspect of our divine masculine. So with all of these energies here, with Mars, Chiron, the vertex, Saturn, and also Neptune, this is where you start to realize that you actually have a lot more power than you think, as long as you are acting with integrity, as long as you are showing up as the one who is not so passive, who actually is led with divine guidance, who is led with their intuition. There's nothing that you can ever do, that you can ever initiate, that won't fruit. This is something where you allow yourself to fruit. I also feel like this is one of those energies where you don't want to fight against what you're being shown here. If anything, you ask, how can I approach this with balance? How can I approach this with harmony? And what is it that needs to be evened out? What part of my life do I need to refocus on or go back and look at to see what I need to take off the scale and what I need to implement on there so that life can be more balanced for me? I do feel like also, because you do have Jupiter here who's in the sign of Cancer with the midheaven, of course, I feel like this is where you start to pay more attention to how you are choosing to emotionally show up in terms of the things that you want to be known for, right? I feel like with Jupiter and Cancer, this does bring ancestral remembrance. It brings emotional resilience. It also does bring emotional nurturing and things like that, but not even just emotional. This has everything to do with you feeling at home within yourself. This has everything to do with you feeling like you have emotional wisdom, and a strong enough emotional capacity, or a great emotional capacity to even show up for purpose, if that makes sense. If anything, I don't sense anything too negative at the time, at the moment. But what I do see, however, though, is that Jupiter is going to be squaring off with, it looks like, with Saturn. No, Jupiter's squaring off actually with Mars, and it looks like he'll also be squaring off with Chiron. Oh, okay. So this is basically where we tell ourselves, okay, I feel like if I were to emotionally react to things, if I were to emotionally react to whatever this is, I feel like this could have a lot of long-lasting impacts. And what you do, how you react to the people that you are building, relationships with and whatnot, it can impact you for a very long time. You really want to be level-headed when you approach anyone or anything. I'm not saying for you to step on, for you to walk on eggshells here, but this is more so like you approaching these situations and these dynamics with wisdom, because that's what's actually going to help bring balance here. Okay, because a lot of what's showing up in our lives is where we need to find balance, right? Because the ascendant here and the part of fortune is in Libra. And I feel like Libra can be very diplomatic, but at the same time, Libra can also be very self-sacrificial in terms of keeping the peace and harmony. This is not a time where you want to say, well, how can I take more away from myself and pull more from my own earth to give to others? This is more so you being asked, how much of yourself have you given to others while sacrificing your needs? And this is where you say, I no longer wish to have that. I would actually prefer if people gave to me more. Where can you allow yourself to be given more to? You're headed in a direction where your day-to-day life and your day-to-day reality is asking you to look at the magic that is available to you immediately. Because we do have the nodes that are sitting in the sign of Pisces in the 6th house. So this is your ritual, your day-to-day, your acts of service. The way that you're approaching this is through magic, is through intuition, is through surrender, is through the beauty of the cosmos. So this is where you start to find the beauty in the moment, and this is where you start to find the love in the moment. This is where you start to say, you know what? I feel like if I were to share this magic in these tiny moments with people, it will actually have a lot of a greater impact, and people start to trust you. So at the time of this new moon, what I am sensing is that you really do want to lean deep into your creativity. You want to lean deep into your ability to think, your ability to analyze, but also your ability to surrender and really stand up for the things that you know that you believe in. Really be an advocate when it comes to your relationship with yourself. Think about how you're showing up for yourself versus how you're showing up for others, and what can you implement to ensure that this is more fruitful for you, that whatever you plant does fruit and it comes bearing abundant gifts. Remember that abundance is not only just in your tangible assets, your money and things like that, although that is a very big part of it. Sometimes the abundance looks like love. Sometimes the abundance looks like joy, pleasure, play, leisure. And I do feel that this is kind of like a reset, not like a whole life reset, because I feel like we're already kind of going through that, but this does feel like a momentary reset where we say, all right, this is a check-in, this is what I feel right now, this is what I need, and this is what I'm going to do. Okay. And also, real quick, the south nodes are also in Virgo in the 12th house. This is where you also start to, because wait, are the nodes squaring off with Mercury? Give me 1 second. Yep, that's what it is. So essentially, you have the south nodes here that are also squaring off with Uranus. So basically, I don't particularly like this, but then I do like this. And the reason why is because I feel like there's going to be some type of revelations here that you're going to be receiving in terms of what control mechanisms do I have, and do I judge things? Am I extremely particular about things? And where do I feel like I may not even be worth showing up? I feel like this has a lot to do with value and about how much you extend and how much you give versus how much you receive. I feel like Virgo is notoriously known for wanting to perfect things, but I feel like Virgo is also known for ensuring that things are running very efficiently, and it looks for issues and it also solves the issue. It says, this is what the issue is. This is why this happened. This is what we can do moving forward, and here's the plan. But I also feel like some of you have been doing things out of survival, and you're moving out of a need to do things in survival. So this is where you start to understand that the more time and attention that you give to yourself, the more you realize, okay, I don't have to be this way. I don't have to be harshly critical, and I don't have to pick apart everything that comes into my field. If anything, you allow your... So this is basically where you decide that instead of being overly critical about the things that come into your mental field, that you allow yourself to simply let things be what they are and move out of a space of having to overly critique or overly identify with your thoughts, right? You are not your enemy, and you are also not your insecurities. If anything, this is where you allow yourself to release any insecurities that you may have around the things that you create, around your creativity, around things like that. I feel like this is where you allow yourself to just divine, allow yourself to become open, allow yourself to channel. Virgo is not, I don't feel like Virgo is very comfortable in the 12th house. And the reason being is because Virgo wants to ground. Virgo wants to be efficient. Virgo wants to get things done. But in a place like the 12th house, it's like, well, damn, like I'm out here in the open. Like, what does it even do? This is where you learn how to surrender, and this is where you learn the power of surrender. You just learn the power of surrender. So at the time of this new moon, I really want you to focus on not only surrendering, but finding the beauty in life and finding the beauty in your everyday reality, finding the beauty within yourself, the earth, what you're giving to the earth, what you're receiving, and also what wealth looks like for you. If I were going to work with any oils for the new moon, it would definitely be the new moon ritual oil in the Ethereum. Of course, it would definitely be that. I have one here that I would work with, La Luna Nueva. That's what I would work with. I would also work with the Planetary Magic Intention Oil or Ritual Oil for, I would definitely say Venus. And I will also probably say Mercury too. And the reason why I say that is because this new moon here has a lot of strong Mercurian energy, specifically because Venus is there, because of course, this is all about Taurus, and the ruler of Taurus is Venus. And Uranus is also there, which is also, if I'm not mistaken, Uranus is also conjunct Mercury. Let me double check that. Let me fact check that. You have Mercury that actually is conjunct Uranus. Yep. So with these conjunctions, this to me, you're giving a lot of thought into this. I would definitely be working with earth and air. I really, really would. I really feel like this is a very earthy, a very airy time. And it's so funny because you would think that a lot of the energy you would be focusing more on Aries. I don't. I actually see you focusing deeper on, if you were to focus on Aryan energy, it would be you learning to lean into the parts of yourself that crave things to get done, but then you don't initiate those things out of fear of, will this last? How will I be seen? How will I be perceived? I feel like I really want you to trust this time. And I don't want you to think that whatever you're wanting to plant, whatever you're wanting to do, that it doesn't take or that it doesn't fruit. You have the ancient oak spirit strength here. You have trust, you have focus, and you also have power. Exactly. You have a lot more power than you think. You have a lot more power than you think. And I feel like this has a lot to do with your mental power, your mental stamina. You not only believing in what believing in these things, but you acting on it. You actively putting in the work. You actively going after it by embodying the truth, by becoming the embodiment of the things that you want. You have the 3 of jars here, which is the 3 of cups. You also do have here the 7 of cups here as well. I just heard, don't talk about it, be about it. So someone here really does need to just act on it, if that makes sense. Also, this is not one of those things where you want to pretend that you have it together. This is one of those things where you don't want to also feel inferior to anyone that's around you. If anything, welcome these energies. And look at that. You have the King of Wands. You can't make up any of this energy. This King of Wands energy is pointing to the 7th house here that's lit up with energy: Mars, Chiron, Vertex, Saturn, Neptune. This is especially because Neptune looks like it's opposite the part of fortune, and the part of fortune is also opposite Saturn. So with these 2 energies here, what it looks like is that your greatest reward and your greatest fortune is to allow yourself to move and find balance in terms of what you're seeing, what you need to do. And also, I don't know why, what you need to release. I also feel too, because Saturn is involved, I feel like someone here is breaking some kind of cycle. I feel like there's some type of karmic cycle here that's ending for someone. I feel like also this is where you don't play small anymore. Your greatest reward is no longer playing small for the sake of other people. Like, you're not giving endlessly to other people. You're not blinded by the things that people are doing, the things that people are saying. If anything, this is where the blindfold comes off and you say, this is what the truth is and this is what I stand for. And I feel like that's a message all in itself. But anyway, yes, I feel like at the time of the new moon, I would definitely embrace leadership. I would definitely embrace you just kind of allowing yourself to not just stand up for what you believe in, but be the embodiment of what you believe in, or set intentions for that, right? Set intentions for all of those things, okay? I feel like that's all that I have for right now. I mean, I could easily go into Pluto, this Pluto energy here. Look at this. You also have the 2 of Pentacles that showing up in reverse here. I feel like we can go so much deeper into this, but I feel like for the sake of time, we're just going to allow this to be what it is for right now. Okay. You have the Ace of Cups. Exactly. You have the Ace of Cups that's also here. And you have the Queen of Pentacles. What a beautiful way to end the reading. You have the Ace of Cups and then the Ace of Pentacles. Exactly. So this is, the Ace of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles. This is where you start to nurture. You want to not only create a plan, but you want to start doing. I see someone actively doing something at the time of the new moon. You know how during new moon phases, like, you just kind of plant your seeds and it's like, oh, okay, cool. I planted it. I watered it. Now I'm just going to walk away. No, I actually see someone saying, okay, I planted this seed back in November of 2022, or I planted this seed back in August of 2023 or something like that. And now this will be the time where you say, well, let me start taking steps towards that. And that's exactly the energy. It's let me take steps towards that, because I feel like once I do that, things will start to become a lot more clear and I'll see the truth of these things along the way. So trust your journey, trust in where you're going, allow yourself to surrender, trust in your words, trust that all things are happening for you, especially because you do have trust, and really focus your energy on building. I would take myself very seriously. Okay. I love you very much. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this message. Again, this was just a channel for the time being because I was late. There's been so many things going on recently, y'all, that I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on. But anyway, yes, I'll make sure to have any links that you would need down in the description box. And yes, if there's nothing else, I love you. Take care, and I will catch you in my next video.